Ik kan me misschien meer zo zetten.
Je kunt je achteroverleunen.
Ja.
Nee, als je jezelf goed hoort, dan zijn je goed bezig.
Ja, en ik hoor u vooral goed. Dus dat is handig.
We gaan er al beginnen.
Prima.
Welcome to the podcast of Indisruptive and Friends. A podcast where we play with industry and tech peers. Between candy, espresso and soda, and the necessary small talk. Merciless trashing or caching mantras, biases and trends for the next coming years. This podcast is sponsored today by our friends from Industrial Fairs, organizing 6 techno-industrial events, where tomorrow's technology is on display today. Visit industrialfairs.com for our next events. Live from ABISS in Kortrijk Xpo. Our guest today is Johan van Kampenhout from Advario. Johan.
Hello.
Who are you and what are you doing?
My name is Johan van Kampenhout. I'm a project manager in the strategic on automation, electrical and OT field.
Okay. I hear the word strategic.
Yes.
I hear the word OT.
Yes.
Then give me some more details when you suppose you were in a bar, in a pub, and somebody asks you, Johan van Kampenhout. Be honest, really. What are you doing for Advario?
It's not just working out effective projects on these fields of expertise, but it's also actually seeing what projects do you need. So it's not just here is a project and you execute the project. It's more about what projects do we need? Where are we now? Where do we want to go? What is useful for us? And more important, what is feasible for us?
How do you progress? Because you are working out of a problem that is manifesting itself, and it has to have a match.
Well, not
with
always.
The
It's
strategy.
Yeah, it's not always just a problem. Sometimes things are running fine as they are, but they are not under the loop, so people do not see them. And the danger with these kind of things, especially in the OT world, for example, an access control system, is that it sometimes gets forgotten. And when it's not maintained properly and when it's not refreshed every once in a while, your technology becomes older and older. And we see this very much in problem settings when NIS2 legislation comes in hand. And we see that those old systems do not match anymore with the new legislations and requirements. So it's more than just, hey, here is a project, please execute this.
Okay, but is that from a philosophy of finding or detecting the canary in the coal mine?
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
Looking into details that other people do not see in a process?
Exactly. Because normally when companies are operating, they specialize on their operating needs, and they just use whatever that is at hand. And their main focus, of course, is not operational technology. It's not automation. It's just something they use. And therefore, it is not always refreshed in a correct way, and it's not always looked upon in the right way. It doesn't get enough attention.
It's getting older and older and more susceptible for error or for vulnerabilities.
Exactly.
I suppose.
Yes.
Now, before we continue, and also for our listeners, what does you're active in chemical industry?
Well, we're a tank farm. So it's we are sited in Antwerp, and we do three products. We keep minerals, oil and gases,
liquids
and chemicals, all liquids and liquefied gases. So it's storage, it's pipeline connections, it's trucks, it's jetties, those kind of things.
What are we talking about then? Gases? Liquids such as?
Well, the chemical products are very diverse, and they have their own special applications. The gases are what you find in your when you go camping, but not the small ones, but like really big. And the mineral sides is more like jet fuels, those kind of things.
Okay, so that's a very specialized market.
It is quite specialized, yes. And
you have a lot of challengers in that area, or are you a niche player?
No, it's not that much of a niche. There are many of the same tank providers,
okay,
storage
so
providers
you're
in Antwerp.
in a quite competitive environment. Then
It's a competitive environment. Yes.
and what if you're in a competitive environment? So what can be your USPs then? Prices or safety or reliance or
It's a bit of all. If you go see to product development, if you do not develop on a regular basis and stay in front of your contesters, let's call it that, then you will get behind. Another thing is safety is extremely important. Functional safety on the process itself, but also on cyber resilience. That's also very important. Um, so those are the main
Okay.
focus points.
Yeah. Now the part that you brought here in your presentation was mainly focused on cybersecurity, on OT cybersecurity.
Yes, it's mostly about the how to implement this all difficult legislations into a practical approach.
Now you're talking about the timeline of your presentation. You started a project on OT cybersecurity, I suppose. How long is it ago that you started with it?
How long is?
How long is the project itself?
That's not that easily to answer. So
because it evolves every
it
time.
evolves. It keeps on evolving. It never stops. So once you have to first align all the projects you have. You have to make sure that you have reached every system, that every system gets the correct attention. Then you have to list them all. Then you have to budget them. You have to plan them. You have to make executable scopes. This has to be talked over with the decision makers, so like the CEO of the terminals, and it has to be phased. But when you are at the end of the first phase, the second starts, the third one starts, but the first product you've touched, like for instance access control, in 4 or 5 years' time, well, if you don't give the attention back, then it will become the same problem again, and the systems will get it. So it never really stops.
You're constantly in the loop. You evolve from step 1 to step 2, never forgetting that step 1 cannot age too long before it gets vulnerable again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, we were talking about canaries, detecting the canaries in the coal mine. In that case, I suppose that's your job.
It's a part of my job, but of course I'm not alone. I don't know every system. Its maintenance is a big part of this. They know which systems give troubles. Local engineering parties from the client themselves, so in this Advario and themselves, they need to be. You have to be consulting them because they know what systems that you don't see at first sight. When you enter a plant, it's not always, here is a camera system, that's visible. But it's not always visible, they have a separate system integrated safety system versus their normal basic process control system. And there are many other kind of examples of this.
But Johan, how do you detect things like that?
That's not always an easy question. The only way to do is to see, to go talk with everybody who effectively works there, so you can have a good view on what systems they are using. Because sometimes they stay under the radar. And the only way to really do this is go talk with several operators, with administrative people to see, okay, what systems are they using, and are these all in the right, looked upon with the right attention.
So when you are making your assessment and looking for vulnerabilities for Advario, can you give us some examples of what brought your attention to take action in that phase or in that phase? Can you just enlighten us a little bit of how things can easily, silently go wrong?
Well, the main example I can think of now is a very clear one. Is everybody knows that in a modern system it's not okay to use normal logins. So administrator. That's not done. We all of us know this. But when you enter control rooms, then it's also very normal that some people use certain generic logins to do their jobs. Operator.
Yeah.
Super operator with password.
Operator 123. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that is not that easy to extract, because it also has to do with, yes, but we need to act fast sometimes. And then you have to go say, yeah, but why then do we need another login? Yeah, because we have different right sets, and sometimes we do something, but we don't want to be doing this without an extra login. Okay, but then maybe you're using the system behind it wrong, and then it becomes very complex because the system behind it, adjusting this system and changing the way how what login gives you a certain possibility to do things. Maybe this needs to be changed.
I can imagine that some people are not only not spontaneously giving all you the necessary information.
Yes, that is
because people go in a protective, in a defense mode. Because if they use silly passwords, maybe they just don't want to be confronted. Or,
yeah, exactly. And especially see this with if some systems are managed by other vendors that are not part of your company, then especially you see this. If you go to the access control again, and we have everything managed, but if you go see how they log into the system and it's just manager, for instance, then you know, this isn't right. So it's not always easy to detect these kind of problems.
Maybe what are implementing in that kind of way, that formula that you have point 1, point 2, point 3, but you also have to look again at point 1. What are your main challenges to give away to listeners of the podcast that you say, if I can give you any advices, check this, check this, check this. Those are the most susceptible vulnerabilities that nobody talks about.
That's difficult because it's very different from plant to plant. At our side, it was actually already quite good because we have a very strong IT team, a local IT team. So common knowledge was already very much available. The main things I would give as advice is try to get an overview. Try to get an overview of all the systems you have and challenge all the systems you have. Don't be too fast with just saying, yeah, this is under control. We know what we are doing. Make sure that they are doing that they know what they are doing.
Check and check again.
Yeah. Trust but verify.
Yeah, yes. Can I understand that a lot of homework was already done by the IT division?
Yeah, defense on a cyber level works in different layers, of course. And one of the first one is how to access the site. So this is done by our it's a harbor. So getting in is quite difficult. If you're on a harbor police list somewhere, you're not going in. So that's a big part of it. Another big part of it is a strong IT team that knows if you want to have remote access, we're just going to block it. We're not going to allow it. Or if you are going to allow it, they are going to have a damn good system that we can monitor and see what is going back and forth from traffic. And that's all covered by local security and like IT divisions locally.
I'm wondering, how old is the facility where we're talking about now?
I think it's from the 70s.
That's a legacy system.
Yeah, it's a legacy system. The automation system did get renewed every once in a while, so that's quite good.
Yes, but there's maybe old production or old capacity that is still present in the new environment.
Yeah.
Retrofits, things like that.
Yeah, but we try to manage them. We try to identify systems that are getting too old, which still have to use like Server 2000 software applications. Yeah, we're gonna eliminate them. And the plant has enough experience with this to see, okay, this is an important investment we need to make. They are not allowing systems to get too old. From an OT perspective, of course, the tanks themselves, they have a different approach. It's with other kinds of legislations, and they will get renewed when required with a different set of legislations, of course.
Okay. Now, maybe one thing is that's popping up. We got acquainted
yes.
one another, introduced by Siemens. But tell me, we're talking here about cybersecurity. Is Siemens a cybersecurity company also?
Yeah. They help us in that now. For us, they have. We only had one partner, one automation partner who did everything, who also made our industrial data center.
And that was already Siemens then?
No, that was not Siemens. It was a different partner. Yeah, it was a different partner. A good partner, nonetheless. But we wanted to have less independence of one partner. So we've asked Siemens as an overcoupling, because the hardware is all Siemens as an overcoupling partner for the other parties
Of
that are
course,
involved.
because of the devices were Siemens devices. Your automation partner is other party. Your automation partner is another party.
Yeah, it's a
another
preferred
vendor.
partner of Siemens. Yeah.
And because of the 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 apparatus was Siemens, you also started by the source to eliminate risks on the devices itself with their policy, then with their system.
Yeah, exactly. And make
Yeah.
sure that everything is done according to the Siemens compendiums, stuff like that. And making sure that if one integrator of Siemens, because they work with preferred partners, if you have one partner, making sure that you are still competitive, and let them challenge each other a little bit. It's quite important actually, because then you sometimes get fresh ideas.
Yeah.
And also you're quite certain that you're not handling with wrong prices, because of course if your continuous investments are not market conform,
Yeah.
then you will become more expensive for your clients than the ones next door. So that's why we've chosen
Yes.
this.
Once you're working with a vendor, you have the tendency that you have a vendor lock-in, and that you keep on working with the same vendor because you can't get out. You're locked in. Things happen, of course. How do I see you? Are you working for Advario, or are you a consultant, or?
I'm an independent. I'm
You're
an
an
independent project
independent?
manager. Yeah, yeah.
But your main customer is Advario, or?
My main customer is Advario. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
I'm coming there for over 10 years now, so I know them
Oh,
quite
okay,
well.
yeah, that's a while. Now, for the future, for the coming next 5 years, are there things for the people watching on the level of cybersecurity challenges or things who are evolving that you can give away to our public?
I think just read the Siphon website. I think it's a very good one. Most people think that they are on the path, and most of them are. But it's a very clear, very open website from the Belgian government, which you can actually read. It's comprehensible. Please take an hour or two and just dive
And
into
how
it.
is it called?
Siphon, Cyber Fundamentals Belgium.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a website. It's probably the people here on the expo, they all know it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, CEOs from working on other platforms aren't familiar with the cybersecurity. But please read it. Please be aware, because CEOs do get fines if it's not okay, them personally. So it's quite.
So they are
important that they know
personally
it.
responsible
Accountable.
for
Yeah.
certain types of cyber attacks.
Yes. Yes.
Are
yes.
there examples of that?
Not the cyber attacks themselves,
But the
but
vulnerabilities.
making sure that you are compliant with the legislations is a responsibility of the terminal manager or the plant manager or the whatever it is for the site. And this is something that not everybody knows. So that's my main tip of the day.
Okay, all
Please
right.
visit
Tip
this
of the day.
website.
So, what was your impression of your visit on ABISS? What do you think about the ecosystem?
I like it. It's smaller than, for instance, an Indonesian. It's also less overwhelming, because it can sometimes be overwhelming. This is much easier to talk to
Easygoing,
people.
more
Yeah.
focused.
Yeah, more focused. Yeah, exactly. It's a good atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, we're very glad to have you as a speaker here. For our listeners, viewers, is there any way we can follow you on LinkedIn or on other publications?
Yeah, just please add me on LinkedIn. No problem. Johan van Kampenhout. That's it.
Johan van Kampenhout with a C. Johan, thank you for your presence and for talking on ABISS, and hoping to see you again next time.
Thank you. Bye.